The next one's a little midge pattern I use. Again, this is tied. I'll put it in the vise so you can see it. Tied a little bit heavier than or bigger than I normally tie. I normally tie it in a 16 or 18. This one's tied on a 14. So basically it's it's got a crystal flash body, UV brown peak, UV brown dubbing for the thorax. You can use a black or Coachman brown parachute hackle, and I use CDC feathers in the wing. Tail's just a couple of fibres of EP fibre. Very simple fly. When I first started tying this fly, I was using Sally Hanson's to go over the crystal flash. And I think that's something Macca taught us back in the day. And it really sets off the colour in the crystal flash and also protects the body. I fish this slow rivers, like one of my favourite spots. And I think Noel knows this is under the bridge at the Macquarie River. First thing in the morning when they're up on the Midge. So they seem to like this fly. Sorry?
I'm just agreeing, Craig.
Yeah. No, it's a good little fly pattern for that. I've tied it with the CDC post. I've tied it with white high vis. I've tied it with black high vis posts. But the CDC just gives that little bit of flotation if making it easy to see. I mean, I fished this one on the Macquarie River some mornings in November, and the line's freezing in your rod guides. So I've used it on the lakes as well. So it's a good little fly, but as I said, you don't want to cast too far with it. When I'm on the Macquarie, I'm basically kneeling on the bank and just more or less casting my leader and a little bit of fly line onto the water. Sometimes not even any fly line. So you're fishing the edges with it. And that means you can actually see the fly. So I tied on a mustard. Hang on, get that in sight. Signature Series C49S. Caddis curved hook. That's a size 14.
So would a Klinkhammer style Hannock do as well?
Yeah, that'll do. I mean, I use the, that's probably 18 to 16, the same hook as what I use. You got any of those, Laurie? I reckon Laurie's dived into his drawer now.
Got his microphone off. I'll turn him on. There you are, Laurie. No.
So I tend to go down in thread size for this fly. I use a 10-0 Gouda rod, but an 8-0 is fine. Especially if I was tying the 16 or 18, I'd be in the finer thread. Did you have any of those hooks in your drawer, Laurie?
Yeah, I've got them in the 8250,
Yeah.
which is the old number, which is now the signatory one that you've got. Got heaps of them.
I might have to get some more off you at some stage, I reckon.
Yeah, not a problem.
The 80250.
Yeah, 80250.
So what size?
Thousands, millions of them.
B110s are just as good.
Yeah. How are you, Dilly?
Not bad, mate.
Oops. Sorry, I just put you in the waiting room.
Yeah. So probably with this fly, I said I should start off, put a bit of thread on halfway down the hook. I just use, it doesn't matter what you use for the tail. I use, at this stage, I had EP fibres out. So they got that translucent look. So I just tie them down onto the bend of the hook, fairly low down. So we'll go back, EP fibres, just a few strands. I think I might have to put my other goggles on here so I can see what I'm doing.
Yeah, I haven't got much of that. EP fibre. I'm not sure if I can use it much.
You can use high vis. You can use whatever you want for the tail.
You could probably even use white CDC.
You could. Yep, that'll do.
High vis works fine.
Yep. So the only reason I'm using EP5 is I've been playing around with it, so I've got some laying around.
So you're going right with the hook, huh?
I come down fairly low on the hook.
You know what we use, but we haven't got very much of it because
What's
we
that?
can't get any. Is white bruni possum.
Yeah. I've got some white bruni possum in the freezer, but I shot it at Craigborn.
How white is it?
Get there.
It's very white.
He missed the ferry.
I'd like a little patch about 6 by 6.
It's in the freezer.
Yeah,
So,
right.
all right, so I've cut the tail off fairly short as you do. Not a lot there. A couple of fibres there, they'll wind in as we go. So next what I do is I start at the top with the crystal flash and I wind it down and I come back up. And be careful with it because you touch the point of your hook with it. It's a real pain in the ass. No doubt now I've said that, I'll probably do it just for demonstration purposes. Again, I'm going to use the rotary on the vise, so I'll just lock off the thread.
Which vice is that, Granny?
That's the Stonefo Elite.
Okay, thanks.
It's fairly new. I'm only out of the week, so I'm still learning how to use it. So I just put the crystal flash in a pair of, again, they're actually Stonefo hackle pliers, and they're actually spring loaded. So you can't get too much tension on. You don't break the hackle or the crystal flash, hopefully.
How many strands of crystal flash?
Just
Craig?
the one,
Just the one?
strand. Yeah. And I just wind it down the hook, dodging the hook point as we go.
Yep.
Ooh.
I'm going to do it nice and slowly so I don't break the crystal flash, hopefully. So take your time with this process. It's worth it in the long run. The other night when I was practicing, I think I broke it about 4 times before I got it right.
Craig, why don't you hide the point in the vise?
I could do, yep.
Because then you won't have that problem.
Yep, you're right. I probably should. Thank you, Laurie. And that
Not many people do that, Laurie, but I do it.
It's better because you've got needlepoint hooks, so you can't crush the point of the hook.
So I go down and I come back up the hook.
So what do you do, Laurie? You put the
hide the point in the vise.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because when we used to have barbs on the hooks, the biggest problem if you put it in the vise, it used to ping it and break the point off. But needlepoint hooks, you can hide the point in the vise and not hurt the point at all.
Of course.
There we go. That's down and back. Lock it off. Okay. So now I get 3 natural CDC feathers, stack them on top of each other. They don't have to be big feathers because you're only using them for a post. So I find in the Petagine packs, there's quite a few of the smaller ones in there, which is what I use. Want something slightly heavier, I suppose you could go for a select CDC, which might have a bit more of a barb count for you. I just stack them just so that the tips are lined up, and then stroke the feather upwards towards the tips, so they all line up, all the fibres head north, so to speak. On top of the hook, give it a couple of loose wraps, pull it down to where you want the height of your post, and then lock it off. Trim it. Stop it rolling around the hook like that. And I just broke my thread. Thank you very much for coming.
That's that point.
Didn't touch the point then. I just got too heavy with it. 10-0 thread, Laurie. I was a bit heavy-handed with it. Off the waist, and then tie that in. And I come back up to the post, and I start making wraps around the post to ready for the hackle. Five or six turns up, and then back down again. Try not to lose all the good work on the way down. Right. And once you get that in, get your UV, and then start putting some UV down the and over the crystal flash, and just onto the butts of the CDC.
Yeah.
So make sure you get it all around the hook. And what I find when you're doing this, if you just rotate it so that just before you set the hook, you get most of the resin running to the top side of the hook. It gives you a nice little bit of a bubble back on the back of the hook. Sometimes it takes a little bit of just working it around, taking some off if you need to. That's probably getting close to it, I reckon. When you're ready, get your light out and set it off. Should be good. Okay, so what you want now is hackle the size of the hook you're using. I'm using for this one, you can use black or I've got coachman brown here. So I'm just going to use the brown at this stage. But basically I tie it in at the base of the post. Move it off. And then from there, I wrap it up the post. So your hackle basically comes up in the air. Essentially speaking, what I'm doing with this is when I wind it in, it's just coming down the post. Once you've got it in, come down, go back to the back of the where you tied the CDC in, and now we're just going to put a bit of a dubbing thorax in. For that, I'm using the UV Diamond Bright UV Brown. It's got a bit of a purple tinge to it. I find this also works very well as on a dun pattern in the body. You could use peacock herl and just wind peacock herl in for the body. The thorax works just as well. You want to try and make this fairly fine. If my fat fingers will let me do it. There you go, getting it there now. Just winding your thorax. Just turn in front of the eye. Pull out the rest of it. And then just come up and around a couple of times around the post and let the thread hang. How are we going? Everyone keeping up with me? Shouldn't be too hard. How you going, Steve?
I'm a little bit behind you there, mate.
I'll have a mouthful of wine then.
I'm just doing my UV, mate. And of course, I forgot my hackle, so I've got to go. So what hackle is it?
You can use a black or a coachman brown.
All right, yeah.
In obviously size 14.
Craig, with those CDC feathers,
Yep.
if you're tying small flies, you said you've got a pedigen pack, have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get them, you can buy the little, they're called oily puffs.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
They're the tiny little ones that you find in the bottom of the pedigen packs, but you buy them separately.
Yeah. Okay.
But the oily puffs make the good little wings. They look just like that.
I've lost you. I've got Doug. Yeah, Doug.
Yeah, Doug, g'day, Doug.
Hello. Hello,
Hey,
Laurie.
Doug.
Hello, Doug.
So what was the dubbing that you put through? Sorry, Granny.
UV brown.
Oh, my
Spirit
favourite.
River. So you can use that or Peacock Hill. It's up
And
to
was
you.
that just at the front and the back? How was that done? Sorry.
Just tie it. Start at the back where you see that you with your crystal flash finished.
Yeah.
Wind your I've just got a call coming through. Hopefully you haven't lost me on camera.
Oh, it looks like I'm spotlighted at the moment. Who's done that?
Yeah, I don't know, but with your hackle,
Yeah.
tie it to your post so it's up in the air.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
I'll just go and check my camera again.
It's good, Craig. It's no problem.
Yep.
Could lift the camera up a fraction.
What's that, sorry?
To drop the fly down a bit. Lift the camera up.
Yep. We're asking for trouble here.
A little bit more. Wait. Beautiful.
Yeah. How you going, Steve? You caught up?
Yeah, I'm up with you now, mate.
We'll have a look, will we?
Okay, so what we're going to do, we should have the thread just hanging on the hook on your side, on the tyre side.
Yep.
We're just going to wind the hackle down the post. That's winding through my CDC, so that's all right. Whatever you deem as being how heavy you want it to be. 3, 4, 5 turns, up to you guys. And then with your thread, keeping it below the hackle, just keep pushing it down and up, and then up over the eye, down under the hackle. Couple of turns to lock your hackle in. I think.
Sorry, I wasn't watching that. How's that go again? Oh, just underneath the hackle. Yeah.
Yeah, so you keep pushing your thread down below the hackle so you don't trap your hackle. Yep. Mr. Dell and Macca do this one. Okay. I've lost a bit of focus there, unfortunately, but anyway.
Well, concentrate then.
Okay, and once you've done that, we're going to whip finish on the post. It's a matter of using a whip finisher. Instead of going along the hook, invert it so it's up and down. I like to tilt the fly on a little bit of an angle on the so you can see what you're doing. Again, just push it down below the hackle. And as you come over the thorax and down again, 2 or 3. And finish it off. Once you've done that, trim the hackle and the thread. I just like to put a little dab of headset just up underneath it to make sure everything stays in place. I'll just bang the camera then, sorry about that. And that's the finished product.
Good job.
So that sits nice and low in the water, hangs beautifully, and nice little bit of flash to it. Yeah.
So you're using that in for duns and all sorts of things, are you, Craig?
I generally throw it. Well, that one you probably could because it's a bigger fly, but I generally tie it in a size 18 or 16 and throw it at midging fish.
Oh yeah.
Or the smaller fish on the rivers.
Yep.
But I don't fish it in fast water. I fish it in slow water on the river.
Uh-huh.
Because yeah, you'd struggle to see it if you cast too far away and it was in rough water.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, you can change the colour of the crystal flash. I've got a darker one again that I use. You could use a purple if you wanted to, just whatever takes your fancy. But either using the UV or the or Sally Hansen's nail varnish over the top just really brings the colour of the crystal flash out.